Hello YouTube, today I have here a B2 Audio XN series Neodymium subwoofer. Now this is hand built here in Finland actually. We bought these parts well, talking about parts, we got cone and surround and everything in from manufacturer, and we actually made some adjustments here and there, and we have now a good idea how to make probably this subwoofer even better. We need to test this first and then check out different kind of frames and everything. The motor is good, very good for us, but we want to test on this field and find a best solution for everything. So I will be just explaining some of the features this subwoofer has. We have a parameters in later on this video. Sorry about that. And we will be talking a little bit about SPL subwoofers. Now these are SPL directly made for highest sound pressure in your car. These are not musical subwoofers by any means, although you can play music from them, but they are not meant to be on a musical setup. More like an SPL with one frequency going full tilt and seeing what breaks. Now this subwoofer has some quite nice features. It has a carbon cone here, a carbon layer on top, foam layer on between, and carbon layer back in here to have a really good strength and a little bit of flexibility with the foam in between. The top surround here is really high. It is actually from inside here a 35 millimeters and 28 millimeters from the outside here. The width of from bottom to bottom is around 28 millimeters, and it goes this on top area here is only like I have this really small vise in it. It's around 19 millimeters the top in here, so it is not that usual surround to be used, but this is not a usual subwoofer. The thickness of this top surround is around 3 millimeters. It is actually really thick, but still having some kind of flexibility. Now I've been driven this in. I have a parameters later on this video, so we can check out how a Neodymium subwoofer, what kind of parameters it has. So some of the features in here, this actually when we bought this was in parts, so the cone had been layered on the mold, but not been printing it out, not being cut the excess out or anything. So Nico actually on my team, on our team Peränurkka, Nico is a really good subwoofer builder and knows tons of this stuff, and actually I've been learning much of these features from him also. We talk a lot about these things and think what can make them better, to be more precise, more handling better, and what is good to be used in where. So with our minds and his high quality of craftsmanship, he built this from the parts we get. But this probably will be changing sometimes here in summer. Sorry about that, I'm gonna lose my voice in this video, so hopefully I will be not coughing too much. So this has a standard universal, a 6-pole, a little bit oldish design of a frame, cast aluminum frame. Now these frames have had some problems. The 4-pole ones had problems breaking in the many years ago, but nowadays actually this motor down in here is much lighter than those big beefy Neodymium subwoofer motors, because this has quite of an interesting design. The normal Neodymium subwoofers has the does not have a thick top plate that this has, but it has the neodymium magnets are up in here that are the top plate. Now this actually performs more like a standard ferromagnetic motor with having a quite large of magnetic force down in here, which transfers from these poles up to the top plate, which is centered between the coil. So this I can actually calculate here down in here what kind of maximum X mech this should have, which is around 70 millimeters, a little bit more, a little bit less. 70 millimeters before the coil hits the back plate, which actually is the back plate is down in here, but it goes a bit higher on the top of these neodymium magnets here. There's a little landing down in here where the voice coil will hit when it goes over 70 millimeters X mech. So this is not a X-Max beefy subwoofer with a very low FS and everything. This actually has a quite low FS, but we'll talk about that more later. So this is meant to be played as loud as possible, which is, with keeping that in mind, usually they use really small sealed section for these and having a 4-order bandpass or VLV design on the car. So it needs to have a really high pressure. It needs to handle really high pressures inside that small cabin, because we are driving a lot of force in it to make the cone move as much as possible, making inside the small sealed enclosure. So it needs to handle pretty much force, like way over 170 decibels inside the small sealed section. But in ported walls or something like this, it should have a little bit of problems of the high excursion if your tuning is off or your acoustics in your car is a little bit off. But this is quite good compromise in many ways. This has 6 layers of spiders down in here. 4 are actually normal spiders. I think the width of this spider was around 8.5 inches. So it's just a standard size. It has 2 layers with a flat leads that are, I think, the 4th and the top one. 4th and 8th one are the ones with the leads. So it has a one ring down in here which separates of the 2 packs, and it has a beauty panel, a beauty ring up in here which actually has been bolted all the way through. This was an add-on, and Nico actually used some nail polish here to have it the same color as the frame, which is actually quite nice. Not sure if it's Nico's own nail polish or just a little bit joking there. But then we have a white wires here. We thought about having as high quality wires as possible. We don't want to use aluminium. No, we wanted to use maybe silver, but these are tinned oxygen-free copper wires. These are Supraply 3.4 millimeters. So it has 2 flat wires coming from a square wire in here. Actually, in here you can see it's Supraply 3.4 times 2, made in Sweden. High quality tinned OFC loudspeaker cable made in Sweden. It is a really high-end speaker cable, and we thought about it having these for a long time because it's easier to solder them to the leads because it's flat and we have flat leads coming from the coil. It's easy to have a nice sleeving here because this has a sleeving of its own. It is really easy to install. It does not cost that much, but having 2 good wires going all the way around is a good thing. One thing we thought about it, that should these wires be twisted or having just a flat in here they are not round wires, they are flat wires, but we'll see how good they perform later. More about this SPL motorized and everything. This motor is different. The neodymiums are on bottom here, and it has a nice thick top plate of thickness around 20 millimeters. The back plate is around 70 millimeters. The neodymium magnets in here are sized. Actually, it's good that I'm using plastic measurements here, because the motor 4 is quite heavy. This actually looks like that it is 42 millimeters in height, and our thickness should be around 24 millimeters, and on here we have also 25, so 25, 24 and 42 millimeters neodymium magnets, total of I think it was 13 on here. Don't make me count. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. Oh, wait a minute. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. Actually 10. Okay, so this is much lighter motor than normal old ferrite motors, or the big bulky neodymium motors that are around. Thus this frame should handle this weight more easily, and this has a back hole here. This motor has a venting hole here, so the air that the dust cap will build up will be pushed out here, which is really good flare actually inside here, which is astonishingly good, and it actually has a flare up in here also. Now the gluings and everything we have, Nico has used a clear CA glue here on every part in here to have as good as possible. I think the cone was actually glued with just a dabs of CA glue, and then used this kind of polymer, little bit elasticity polymer glue, and everything else should be glued in with a CA glue, industrial grade CA glue. Every winding and everything here is, we can see it, and if something blues we can actually see what wire had a bad connection. Everything now in here should be okay. That's why we're using clear CA glue, to see when something breaks, what breaks it and why, so we can build a better subwoofer. Now this is actually a really good subwoofer. I can show you the parameters up in here. We have a parallel measurement here, 0.9 ohms, so this is roughly 1.2 1.3 ohm voice coil, two of those, total of 0.91 measured by DUTS V2. FS, the frequency of the subwoofer, is 36, QTS 0.71, QES 0.79, QMS 7.06, and we have VAS of around 59 liters, which is quite high, more higher than the our own Neos, what we ordered later on the early of last year. Those, if you haven't seen those videos, we cannot publish them, so you have probably seen some of the pictures online, but these are now for test in our Project Zero, and actually tomorrow we will be using one of these with a 7000 watt amplifier just to test out how it performs. I actually have here a WinISD test results for the enclosure that we have on around 289 liter enclosure, tuning to 68, two neodymium subwoofers. These are the ones, the green ones are the ones we used last time, and we managed to get around 155 decibels with 1000 watts. And now we are having these B2 Audio Neos that should have around, I think it was around 4 decibels in theory, better working. We are just now using one subwoofer to test out the liters if we have too big or too small enclosure. If you want to know more about SPL, we are learning in progress. So our build Project Zero will be having a multiple sets of neodymium subwoofers. B2 Audio is one way to go to. We have other neodymium subwoofers to test with it, and we will be building it to be as loud as possible with a around the Super Street 1 and 2, I think was the league of the rules of the league that we are competing in. So thank you for watching about this B2 Audio XN18 series video. Like if you like, dislike if you dislike, and leave a comment what do you think about these subwoofers. What did I miss on explaining on these? Now I'm not making a normal unboxing on these, because if you buy one of these it should not have the same frame. It should have some kind of differences, because this was a well, we bought it on parts and we made it on ourselves, so opinions and everything might vary, because these are mainly built when ordered, so these are not a mainstream subwoofer by any mean. But oh boy, they are quite good looking and quite beefy, good motors and everything. And I really like these black and white contrast with a dab of red on their subwoofers. And this has been XN Series 18-inch. Okay, we see you on the next video. Make sure you follow our Project Zero and our Instagram page. We will be posting more videos about this and our projects soon on this summer. See you on the next video.